Good day, folks. Everything new under the sun. I apologize for not getting another video up sooner. There's, of course, a lot of things happening in the world, and there is a lot of things happening with me as well. I'm currently working towards my advanced amateur radio license. That's taking some time, and as we get closer to Christmas, there's just a lot of things happening. This weekend, I'll be going after my firearms license as well, and something I encourage, if you're Canadian, to do it, to make use of your privileges, your civil rights, and all that you're allowed to do. Similar with amateur radio, if you don't make use of it, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. If you don't use the right, if you don't use the privilege, the chances that the government will take it away, and that's certainly what they're doing with guns in Canada. We're removing, or we're having removed more and more. More are being prohibited, even down to non military rifles, simply down to very basic hunting rifles. They're starting to add terminology to a bill that's going through Parliament to limit and prohibit many of them. With the end goal, what is the end goal? Effectively, to just disarm everybody. Look at what the situation is in the UK now, where you obviously have to have a license, but you're basically restricted to, I think it's basically maybe, single barrel shotguns. Don't take my word for it, but it's very limited. It's, shotguns and maybe 22 rifles or something like that. No handguns, no other sorts of weapons. Very limited, obviously. So, that being said, exercise your rights. Otherwise, they will be taken away from you, and they may still be taken away from you. But at least you participated in society and exercised the rights that you did have at some point. All right, update on Israel, and then I want to look at Russia, what's going on there. So again, we look at this battle between Israel and Iran is marching towards a nuclear weapon. They are heading to a 90% rate for uranium enrichment, and I think they're up to 60 now. I'll need to go look at that information, but they've increased it anyways, regardless of the JPCOA, regardless of anything else. They are marching towards a bomb. Israeli intelligence knows whether they do or not, and they will strike before they get a nuclear weapon. This is what Israel has come out and stated. Now, Netanyahu, of course, is in the middle of putting a government together. He was voted in again, which is very interesting that he got in again. But again, he's got the permission from the president to attempt to put a coalition together, and that's what he is doing. But he is in leadership again, and that means a strong Israel in the Middle East, and that could mean something interesting as well. That assumes he's able to put together a coalition government and hold power and get things done. So U.S. and Israel are holding air drills simulating striking Iranian nuclear program. Now, they have done this before, and this is one more piece of evidence, and the most recent one, that suggests that indeed they're looking towards and getting ready for something like this. Air defenses have been increased in Syria, for Russian air defenses, which they've been turned off for a while. The drill, one of the largest Israeli Air Force drills in years, will include long-range flights, such as those that Israeli pilots might need to make in order to reach Iran. Israeli airstrike on the horizon. New Damascus air defenses activated. So Israel has a really good relationship with Russia, with Putin. Netanyahu specifically has a very good relationship with Putin, and he had a lot of leeway in Syria. He brokered a lot of leeway. Is that window now closing? Air defenses are being activated. Israel will not be able to strike proxy weapons depots and proxy armies and troops that are battling to take Israel out. Israel's not going to be able to strike them. The timing of the report that Syria and Iran have stepped up air defense near Damascus comes just days after the IRGC commander was killed in Syria in a bombing that was widely attributed to Israel. So Israel has been doing strikes, is doing strikes. This is November 27th, 2022. And Iran is getting serious now. They're entering and stepping up air defenses. Now, I guess maybe these are Iranian air defenses. Yes, Iran is believed to have paid for the air defense systems as part of a partnership with Syria, whose embattled leader Bashar al-Assad has given his tacit approval to Iranian assets operating throughout the country. Again, so because Russia, I believe they even pulled some S-300 out of air defense systems out of Syria to use them in Ukraine. And generally they ruled the skies, and they still do. But Iran is getting more and more leeway there via Bashar Assad and setting up this air defense. So Russia, Ukraine, Russia, there's a plan apparently to annex Western Ukraine from Poland. What areas does it take? There's the map. It suggests that the Polish are looking to annex a section of Ukraine because they don't think the idea is that NATO is going to come in, broker peace with Russia, and part of that peace is going to be allow Russia to annex a part of Ukraine, and it's going to include part of Poland. And Poland apparently is coming out of it, out ahead of it, and saying, we're going to annex the part that we want from Western Ukraine before Russia gets it in a peace deal from the U.S. A very strange, rare statement by Sergei Naryshkin, director of Russia's SVR Foreign Intelligence Service, spoke about a plan to dismember Ukraine from Poland. We must emphasize 4 points, he says. It is the first intention made after granting special status to Polish citizens by Vladimir Zelensky. It is also the first intervention before upcoming Russian military operation in Western Ukraine. So there's this winter offensive that is being spoken about of Russia in Ukraine, and U.S. and Poland are trying to get ahead of this and basically taking the pieces that they can, or saving the pieces that they can. It says, unless Moscow actually has information that the recent discussion about transferring Patriots to Ukraine is for the purpose of air cover Patriot missiles for entry of Polish forces. So air defense systems are now going into Ukraine from the United States, and Russia has perked their ears up, of course. Naryshkin says, Poland wants to annex territories of Western Ukraine. Poland is reportedly ready to annex the territories of Western Ukraine. According to Naryshkin, Warsaw is accelerating preparations for the annexation of territories. The 5 areas are Lviv, Ternopil, Ivano-Frankivsk, Volyn, and Rivne. Polish authorities are determined to act immediately, it says, fearing NATO partners will try to negotiate with Russia in the winter without regard for the interests of not only Ukrainians but also the Poles. So the Poles think they're going to be thrown under the bus by some peace deal that the U.S. Now apparently wants to make. It says, November 30th, Polish President Duda ordered preparation of an official justification for Poland's claims to all of Western Ukraine. And that's a significant statement, obviously. In Warsaw, they believe that Poland deserves a compensation for providing military aid to Ukraine, for hosting Ukrainian refugees. They're running out of money. They don't have money to pay for all these refugees, and they're getting angry. And finally, for launching rocket attack on Polish soil, with Warsaw's response described as mild. So very interesting that the Poles are going after that now. This is one of the other latest articles that came out. Apparently there's 100,000 dead from the Ukrainian army. The Ukrainian army has collapsed. 100,000 dead, 200,000 injured, special court against Russia announced. So they're shifting now from fighting. I guess maybe NATO, United States are bored of fighting Russia now. They're shifting now to basically a world court to go after Russia. So Ursula von der Leyen, head of the commission, who revealed 100,000 Ukrainians, soldiers, and 20,000 civilians have been killed so far. Numbers given by Ursula are completely identical to the estimates that Russian Ministry of Defense and the last report of the Ukrainians 4 months ago. If the dead are now over 100,000, then the wounded soldiers would likely be 200,000, maybe 250,000, it says. This means Russia has wiped out an entire army of 300,000 men, which shows what is happening on the battlefields. Interesting that the Western information now agrees with what the Russian intelligence was saying about the number of killed soldiers. Now we're truly seeing, if this is accurate, what the results are. We've been all sheltered from this. Have you heard this on your mainstream media about this? I have not. Immediately after her statements, Ursula von der Leyen quickly deleted a tweet that she had made and released a new video without reference to the number of dead Ukrainians. They want to, save face. They don't want to look like they failed against Russia in Ukraine. It says at the same time, in a dangerous development, the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, proposed the creation of a special court with the support of the United Nations to investigate and prosecute crime of Russian aggression in Ukraine. Now, what are they going to do if they find something? Go back to war? Because Russia's obviously not going to give up any of its citizens to NATO or this world court, whatever this may be. The EU and Russia are not just moving head on, they are laying the foundations for globalization of the conflict. So they're just escalating, they're continuing to escalate it, and there seems to be no peace deal in the works. So interesting news. This is from War News 247. Latest updates here. So I'm following this. I'm following the build-up to and the escalation of war with Iran and Israel, and Iran is escalating. Kim Jong-un apparently is looking to detonate a nuclear weapon for test purposes as well. And of course, we have the ongoing Chinese-Taiwanese conflict there, where China is said to be looking towards maybe early next year, springtime offensive in Taiwan to take it over, if they can't convert the Taiwanese otherwise. And so all these things are happening. Wars, rumors of wars. We are in the last days. Things are getting worse. There's reports about, where was this? There is reports about a police force in the U.S. looking to get permission to use robots to use deadly force on criminals. The idea being that if there's a threat to life of the police officers, they can send a robot in to use deadly force against criminals. This is the world we're living in, where people are being killed by drones. If you've seen the videos on War News 247 about the drone videotaping guys in foxholes and then dropping what looks like grenades from the air on top of them. This is the future of war. This is the world we live in. It's not what we thought with the Jetsons or whatever futuristic war video you've watched. And now we have Terminator-style robots, and police forces asking permission to use those. And who sets the rules for what, when and where these robots can go and what they shoot? And, will they get the right guys when they shoot? And will they go haywire? So these are all questions. And this is quite an interesting, scary world we're heading into. But it has to divulge, it has to go downhill into chaos before the world leader can step in and say, look, I'm going to create peace. I'm going to fix everything. And for the world has to be in a crazy enough state for the citizens of the world to give up their national sovereignties and say, please help us. We're desperate. There's war, there's famine, there's starvation, there's economic collapse. We need a world leader to fix all this. That's exactly when the Antichrist is going to step in. So, folks, it has to get worse before it gets at least better for a period of time, maybe 3.5 years, 7-year period. I don't know that any of that time will be good for anybody, but I think the citizens of the world will think it's good for a little while anyways. But it has to get very much worse before the Antichrist comes on the stage. So it's heading there. Things never go as fast as we think they will, but Bible prophecy is proceeding just as it was written of in the inspired Word of God thousands of years ago. And we can rely on it. We just got to realize things go a lot more slowly than we think. When you're looking back at the biblical stories, these happen over days, months, years, decades. You look at 40 years in the wilderness for Israel. These things happen over long periods of times, lifespans of people. But we read them in the span of 5 minutes and think everything happens fast. Well, it doesn't. Um, Although we are wrapping up about 6,000 years of man, that's getting coming to a timeline end. And so I think things are close within years now, even months of kicking off a 7-year period. And I don't think anybody can deny we're getting closer. None of us know the exact date, and we're not supposed to guess the date. But I think we can know the season, the period of time. I think we can see it coming, and we do see things around the world lining up to Bible prophecy. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll leave it there. We'll see you in the next video.